So we are getting set up to do our slats and side rails for the twin size bed. A little bit of math involved here. So we're going to be taking our slats. They are 2 3/8, but when I push them together, I actually end up with 19 1/8. So I've grown over 8 of them, 1/8 of an inch, because I should be at 19. That's not too bad. So what we do is we take that measurement and subtract it from my total width of my board here. Okay, that'll give me my gap space. When I have that number, I then divide it by the number of gaps that I'll have. So I take the 19 1/8, subtract it from the 39 length here, and I'll get 19 7/8. That's the remainder of my gap space. To find out how many gaps I need, I'm going to start with a board and end with a gap. If you start with a board and end with a gap, you'll have the same number of boards and gaps. So I'll have 8 gaps. So take your gap space and divide it by 8, and I get 2.48 yada yada yada, which is really close to 2.5. So my gaps are going to be 2.5, and then the last one, it'll be slightly less because that 0.02 that I'm missing. To set up the first board here, you will take half the width of your slat, which will be 1 3/16, and you'll make your first mark. Okay, we'll mark that right there. Then the next marks over, each sequential mark, will be a board's width plus your gap width. So my board width plus my gap width is going to be 4 7/8. So I take my square here and I'll line it up, and I'll just go along and mark. You can kind of see I've already done it along there, and I'll just go along and mark each point. From there, we'll then take this and mate it up to the bottom piece that it'll be connecting to, and we'll transfer the lines all the way across. That way, when we use our jig, our doweling jig, to line up, it'll be lined up and matched. Like for example, if this was my bottom and my top, I would take this piece and I would line it up right here, and then I'd take another one of my squares and go and make hash marks all the way down. That way, when my top and bottom are positioned here and here, my boards will line up with the lines across. You'll line the boards up with hash marks. You can kind of see it from when I was drilling the holes in those. Those hash marks will line up with those marks. And I'll be setting them recessed down in like that. So that's the explanation of how you set up rails. I'll go ahead and just do another one here so you can see what it looks like in action with the other set.